Congratulations, kids. You own the internet now. Use it wisely. On January 6th, 2020, I received an official mandatory email from YouTube. Essentially, it boils down to this. Starting today, we will no longer serve personalized ads or support features such as comments, stories, live chat, notification bell, and others on videos designated made for kids. This is because of a new update to an almost 20-year-old internet law called COPPA, or Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. On the surface, this sounds like a great thing. Of course we want kids, defined as 12 years of age and below, to be safe on the internet. There are all kinds of scary people on there doing malicious things, and we want the best for kids. Unfortunately, however, this new update has been, in one word, divisive. Now, there are many videos on YouTube about this update to the law, which was passed by the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, effective April 21st, 2000. All you have to do is type into the YouTube search bar C.O.P.P.A, COPPA. Essentially, it's a law that poses difficulties for creators on YouTube because it makes them face the question of whether their videos or channels are appropriate for kids. The FTC has finally realized that kids are smarter than they appear to be. They can easily search up anything they want on any device, appropriate or not. If YouTube decides that your video is not advertiser friendly because it's not appropriate for kids, based on their relatively vague list of determining factors, then they could decide to turn off monetization for the video and charge you with abuse of the setting that you've chosen, i.e. made for kids or not made for kids. If you need to know more, check out those other videos, because I am taking a different perspective on the matter, but focusing on the same question that's been the fuel for this change in internet law. What is truly appropriate for kids on YouTube? And does that include music theory? This law will not stop kids from finding and engaging with inappropriate content online, because kids are interested in pretty much anything under the sun. They're curious sponges. They're much more tech-savvy than generations prior, and they may be more intelligent as a result of this. This is Generation Alpha, the tech-savvy young children of millennials, whose rising influence could soon make Gen Z an afterthought. The young members of this newest generation were born beginning in 2010. The term Generation Alpha was created by Australian social researcher Mark McCrindle, who proposed the following. Generation Alpha will be the most formally educated generation ever, the most technologically supplied generation ever, and globally the wealthiest generation ever. These kids care more about technological devices than their older counterparts ever have, and maybe ever will. Hotwire surveyed 8,000 parents of young children recently, and 81% of those parents claimed that they bought their newest technological devices primarily or even solely because their kids wanted it, begged for it perhaps. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The internet is helping kids understand abstract concepts better, remember things better, get better at visually learning, and even research authors of physical books so they can read physical books. All of this can happen by their second birthdays, when they may already have a broad internet history. This educational revolution is improved even more by services such as abcmouse.com. That's an example of an online early learning program developed for children from pre-K through second grade. It was created by a team of educational experts and website experts, designed so that even when a kid's parents leave their side for just a minute or two, they can continue to navigate the website using its audio and visual assistance. According to the website's FAQs, abcmouse.com is not designed to be an accredited school, but rather to provide a supplementary, highly comprehensive educational resource to help children be more successful in learning and reviewing concepts covered in preschool through second grade classes, such as art, science, reading, math, social studies, and music. Yes, music, the subject of this video. Why is it grouped with the other academic subjects? Why is it so important? Just as with the other subjects like math and reading and writing, there are basic things and concepts to be grasped from music that we apply to our everyday lives. These articles are from the first results page of my Google search for why is music so powerful. There are probably hundreds more. The point is, music is powerful. Sometimes it's so powerful, in fact, that it reaches the courtroom. In essence, musicologist Todd Decker, defending Christian rapper Flame, aka Marcus Tyrone Gray, claimed that the specifically similar sounding melodic fragments of each song put into question sounded too similar, and that Katy Perry and her studio colleagues stole copyrighted material from Flame's 2008 song Joyful Noise for her 2014 song Dark Horse. There have been many lawsuits like this in the past, most notably the one involving Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams against Marvin Gaye's lawyers in 2015. However, this Katy Perry Dark Horse case is different because of its focus on a specific melody line. Adam Neely has an insightful video on the subject. If you want to learn more, check it out. He puts it best with this graphic. The point is, anybody can accidentally copy this melodic phrase because, according to Variety, it's a starkly simple phrase, 6 descending notes that a marginally talented toddler could bang out on a toy xylophone. There were arguments made that this melody is in fact too simple to be copyrighted, and that instead of putting this case in front of the average jury of people who know minimal information, if any information at all, about the basics of music theory, the court should rather have gone before an expert arbitration panel. No offense, but the average person probably doesn't have the largest musical vocabulary. In my opinion, that's where Generation Alpha comes in. This is one reason why music theory is important for kids to understand in 2020 and beyond. We need kids who understand more than the basics of music theory in a world where court cases like this keep popping up, where potentially any melody line, any chord progression, or any set of lyrics in a song, and more, can be disputed. A majority of the problems and fears that arose from this court case has to do with the semantics, the fine, minute details of the melody lines, the chords, the color, the timbre, the texture, and more of each song. For any future court cases like this one, songs will be heavily analyzed and scrutinized, and the efforts of the analyzers and scrutinizers may perhaps result in a mediocre summary, a blanket statement, such as the one that concluded the Dark Horse case. Of course, this entire video isn't about how kids need to revolutionize music law by learning to be more analytical when it comes to music, but I want to note that they already have a foot in the door. For that, we can thank coding. More and more schools have been incorporating coding and programming courses into their curricula. It follows that since the newest generations are more technologically inclined than previous generations, then why not teach them coding languages and how to create programs and apps? Coding is not just for making a tiny robot move around and speak. Like I said, coding is indeed a language, just like any other, except it's spoken through binary code rather than the vocal cords. And like with any other language taught in schools, kids learn how to write and communicate to their devices through code, so they can plan and organize their intentions. Then they can figure out how to solve problems. And with coding, there are multiple problems with multiple types of solutions available. Coding helps kids realize more about the world around them and visualize how things work. Best of all, once they learn the ins and outs of coding languages, kids can create their own video games, websites, programs, and apps. Who wouldn't want to do that? But it takes patience, persistence, and concentration, and coding courses foster all of those. Everything that I've just outlined about coding also applies to music theory. Music has been called the universal language. Kids can learn how to write music, and the best ways to communicate their musical ideas by planning out their compositional processes. Music composition has its problems, and there are multiple routes to a solution. When kids learn music, they learn about the impact of music on the world and begin to understand how and why music affects them the way it does. And, of course, the best part is writing music. Likewise, music composition takes patience, persistence, and concentration. Both music theory and coding involve numbers and math, but in fun ways. The new zeitgeist in music composition is microtonality. Microtones are tones between the tones. There are at least 100 notes between C and C sharp on a piano, and each of these notes is measured relative to C and C sharp by cents. There are 100 cents between C and C sharp. Going from one C to the next C, you span one octave, and this means that one octave contains 1,200 cents. That's 1,200 notes in one octave, while a grand piano has 88 keys. When you do the math, that's a lot of cents. A lot of musical possibilities to be constructed by the next generations to come. Schools are dropping out of standardized testing rituals and looking to the arts as a way to give students a creative outlet for feelings and fears that might otherwise go unexpressed, due to the negative influence of these tests on their mental health. In the 2017 to 2018 school year, a study was conducted in Houston, Texas, with 10,000 student participants who were introduced to arts workshops. The results showed a decrease in disciplinary action, an increase in academic confidence and self-confidence, and an increase in empathy for others. The economic struggles resulting from the Great Recession of 2009 have made kids more generous and frugal. They are less likely to take physical risks because of the involvement of their parents in wars, and are therefore more empathetic to people around them who are suffering in the same way. They're also empathetic to emotional suffering, and are more careful about how they speak to others so as not to cause emotional harm. This is also due to the PTSD experienced by those students impacted by school shootings. Virtual empathy is on the rise as a result of apps like FaceTime, and is seen as synonymous with face-to-face empathy. Kids are growing up in an LGBTQA+ friendly world, and are consequently more empathetic to those individuals who fall under that category. Race and upbringing have become less of a concern. Importantly, they also stage protests about global warming and social injustice because they truly do care about their footprints on this planet of ours. Music is not just for listening to in the background for relaxation and ASMR, or for dancing or freestyling to. It's good for the brain, especially young developing brains. Kids who have learned music through instrument lessons or music classes tend to do better academically in reading, math, and language arts classes. Music helps their brains grow. That's called plasticity. The brain's not only growing, but grasping the benefits of music into adolescence and adulthood as well. Instrumental lessons increase spatial intelligence and fine motor skills in kids. Overall, music has been shown to relieve symptoms of anxiety, ADHD, and more in kids. In schizophrenia, dementia, Alzheimer's, insomnia, depression, and PTSD in adults. But do kids want to dive deeper and learn more about it? Maybe not right away, maybe not now. But if we make these benefits clear enough for them, maybe they will. So, do kids like music theory? Are music theory videos made for kids? This newest version of COPPA has negatively affected the livelihoods of many YouTubers, and music theory may be a vulnerable niche of the internet. I believe that music theory, microtonal or not, has a relatively large audience, but does that audience include kids? I personally see music education trending in the future, and music theory may be part of that for kids. They're already well on their way to becoming the next great composers. They have the potential to change the world for the better, not just through protecting the environment and putting a stop to social injustice, but also through using the power of music theory and technology to disturb the music industry and turn it into a venue for empathetic, positive musical expression. Because when the world's falling apart, we don't need to be suing each other about music, right? I'm confident that kids will eventually learn to like music theory, if they don't already. Or at the very least, delve into how music works. Think of it this way. With schools being so hyper-focused on standardized testing scores and rankings, kids learn math, science, reading, social studies, etc. because they have to. If schools begin to focus more on music education, kids will learn music theory, music composition, production, etc. because they want to.